Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. A nation that President Obama once heralded as a success story in the war on terror is now engulfed in chaos. The African nation of Yemen has fallen to rebel forces, and it could mean grave danger for the United States. Dale Hurd has the story.
Some could argue that Yemen may be the biggest foreign policy debacle yet for President Obama. And considering the dismal track record of this administration, that's saying a lot. This was the president just last year.
This strategy of taking out terrorists who threaten us while supporting partners on the front lines is one that we have successfully pursued in Yemen and Somalia for years.
Not anymore. With its streets in flames, its president having escaped by ship, Yemen is now more than just another failed state. It's the newest base for hatching terrorist plots, including plots against the American mainland. CBN terror analyst Eric Stakelbeck says every American should be concerned.
Many plots against the American homeland have come out of Yemen over the past few years. Think of the underwear bomber a few years ago. Think of the Times Square bombing plot. Think of the cargo plane plot, which was foiled. Several plots against America. Think of the Fort Hood shooter who was in contact with an al-Qaeda cleric in Yemen.
And that was before rival al-Qaeda and Iranian-backed Houthi rebels brought down the government. American special forces have since evacuated, and the embassy staff has fled to Saudi Arabia. The LA Times reports top-secret American intelligence files were looted by rebels and handed over to Iran. Despite the losses, the Obama administration isn't willing to take action.
There is no purely military solution to the situation in Yemen.
The Saudis obviously don't agree. They're leading a coalition of 10 Sunni nations. They've shut down Yemen's airspace, deployed 100 jets, and are threatening to send 150,000 troops across the border.
We have tried to mediate the situation in Yemen. We will do whatever it takes in order to protect the legitimate government of Yemen from falling and from facing any dangers from an outside militia.
The motto of the Houthi rebels is God is great, death to America, death to Israel, damn the Jews, power to Islam. What is happening now in Yemen is a threat not only to its neighbors, but to the whole world. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Arab leaders are seeking to form a military task force to deal with regional hotspots like Yemen. The 22-member Arab League is meeting in Egypt on the Red Sea coast. Egypt and Saudi Arabia are leading the effort aimed at creating a 40,000-strong force backed by air and sea forces as well as light armor. It would be headquartered in Riyadh or Cairo. However, regional and religious rivalries could prevent the leaders from reaching an agreement. Officials in Germany are working to figure out what led 28-year-old Andreas Lubitz to crash Germanwings Flight 9225 Wednesday, killing all 150 passengers on board. So far, they've learned Lubitz began his flight training in 2008, part of it in the U.S. at a flight center near Phoenix. But his motive is still unclear. The tragedy is causing several international airlines to make changes to match U.S. policy, requiring two in the cockpit at all times and questioning the idea of an impenetrable cockpit door. Indiana Governor Mike Pence signed a law protecting religious freedom in his state. Gay rights groups and some businesses, including the NCAA, say the Religious Freedom Restoration Act could open the door to discrimination. Pence says it's not about discrimination, but preventing government from infringing on religion. Supporters say the law is necessary so businesses will not be forced to provide services they are against based on their religious beliefs, like same-sex weddings.
Faith and religion are important values to millions of Hoosiers and to my small family. And with the passage of this legislation, we ensure that Indiana will continue to be a place where we respect the freedom of religion of every Hoosier of every faith. And we make certain that government action will always be subject to the highest level of scrutiny when it impacts the religious liberty of any Hoosier.
Opponents say it could lead to discrimination of the LGBT community. Arkansas is set to vote on a similar measure, and later in the program we'll explore how Christian colleges are responding to a changing culture, which includes the rapid growth of the gay rights movement. When Texas Senator Ted Cruz announced his bid for president this week, he did it in a way that made it very clear he will go after the all-important evangelical vote. David Brody spoke with Cruz in New York in this exclusive interview.
Ted Cruz is known as a straight shooter, and in front of a Liberty University audience, he made it clear that he aims to be the evangelicals' first choice for president.
And I believe God isn't done with America yet.
And he won't be alone for long. More than a half dozen likely presidential candidates will court the crucial voting bloc. So the question facing Cruz is, why him?
What can potentially set you apart from some other folks that might start to siphon off some of the evangelical vote here?
Every one of us should ask any candidate who shows up in front of us, you say you believe these principles. Show me. When have you stood up and fought for them? When have you bled for them? And what have you accomplished? You shall know them by their fruits.
Cruz's strategy will include pointing out victories that he argued and won in court, defending the Second Amendment, standing against partial birth abortion, and taxpayer-funded abortion. One thing he told me he will not do is sling mud against others.
There may be other candidates who get down and nasty, who get personal, who go into the gutter and launch attacks. I ain't going to be one of them.
Instead, Cruz insiders tell me the goal is engaging Christians to become more involved in the political process.
This country remains a country, I believe, grounded in values, grounded in faith. But far too many Christians have ceded the public arena to people who aren't believers.
As a pastor, his father pushes others to speak boldly from the pulpit on issues of the day. That's rubbed off on Cruz and will be one of his main themes.
We are to be watchmen on the wall. And I believe that there are pastors, there are leaders in the faith community all across this country who were placed in the positions of leadership that they are in today, just like Esther, for such a time as this. That is my hope, that we will energize and mobilize courageous conservatives all over this country to pull this country back.
Do you believe you were put in this position for such a time as this as well?
I hope and pray that I was, and I can tell you I feel privileged at an incredible level to have the opportunity to be in the arena.
An arena where it will soon be standing room only as someone in a crowded GOP presidential field tries to win the chance to take the White House in 2016. David Brody, CBN News, New York.
Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has started an aggressive campaign to block President Obama's agenda on climate change. The New York Times recently reported that McConnell is trying to stop new regulations from the Environmental Protection Agency. Those regulations are aimed at cutting carbon pollution from coal-fired power plants. The rules could close hundreds of those plants. McConnell has sent a letter to every governor in the U.S. with a legal argument telling them why they don't need to go along with the regulations. And one of his supporting lawyers is Lawrence Tribe, a constitutional scholar from Harvard who says the EPA is going far beyond its legal authority. Turning overseas, Nigerians head to the polls this weekend for a crucial election. With a Christian and Muslim candidate vying for the presidency, the outcome could test the unity of this important African country. George Thomas brings us that story from Nigeria.
Nigeria's current president, Jonathan Goodluck, is a Christian from the south. His challenger, Muhammadu Buhari, is a Muslim from the north. After months of campaigning, polls show the race a dead heat. Some 68 million Nigerians have registered to vote.
We voted for Goodluck Jonathan in 2011. All Nigeria needed him then, but now we need change.
We want him to finish what he has started for Nigeria, because since he has been there has been a lot of transformation.
The election was supposed to happen on February 14th, but was postponed to this weekend because of security concerns due to the repeated attacks by the radical Islamist group Boko Haram.
With the election now set for March 28th, there is a lot of debate, as you can see here in the national newspapers, about whether the date should have been changed in the first place. What is clear is that many Nigerians are concerned about the security conditions, not just here in Abuja, but across the country. They are concerned whether these elections can take place without bloodshed.
The last time Jonathan and Buhari campaigned for the presidency in 2011, hundreds of churches were burned, hundreds of Christians killed. and thousands of Christian businesses and homes destroyed, mainly by Buhari's Islamic supporters. Security this time around is still a big worry. Nigeria is fighting a 6-year Islamic insurgency by Boko Haram. They've killed more than 13,000 people, trying to turn Nigeria into an Islamic state.
And that is the reason why I keep insisting on we needing God's intervention, because it's the only one that can actually save us, it's the only one that can actually do something about this situation.
For the past 6 weeks, a multinational force led by Nigerian troops recaptured most of the towns held by Boko Haram in the northeast. But this week's mass kidnapping of more than 500 women and children by Boko Haram near the Niger border was a reminder of the group's potency despite the military offensive. Religion will be a big factor in the election. Nigeria is split down the middle. The south is Christian, the north is Muslim. Jonathan's base is largely from the prosperous oil-rich south. Buhari's is in the north, which is also Boko Haram's stronghold. While Jonathan has brought some economic stability to the country during his time in office, his indecisiveness on dealing with Boko Haram could potentially hurt him with voters. Buhari has promised to tackle corruption if elected, but his Islamist leanings are cause for concern. He once called for the implementation of Sharia law in Nigeria. The stakes this weekend could not be higher. Nigeria is Africa's most populous country. It has the largest economy on the continent and produces more oil than any other nation in Africa. So the outcome of the election and any potential violence will be felt far beyond its borders. George Thomas, CBN News, Nigeria.
Faith, what began as a missionary teen's hobby, is now changing the Christian music scene. Caleb and Ephraim will tell us how in the digital download right after this. Welcome back. The truth of the gospel never changes, but how we share it certainly does. Ephraim Graham and Caleb Kinchlow explain how a Christian music website called Rapzilla is exposing people to Christianity and sharing good music at the same time.
You're watching the Digital Download.
All right, Ephraim, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
All right, what do you get when you mix hip-hop music, a computer, and a 15-year-old missionary kid living in Belgium?
I got it. Blasterized Christian Kid Brother.
What is that?
Look it up. You'll find out.
Ephraim, actually, you get Rapzilla.com. Rapzilla is the #1 online source for Christian music. And it all began with Philip Rude.
I started when I was 15 years old in Belgium. I just was a big fan of Christian hip hop and I wanted to start a website just because I thought I knew a lot.
His parents were missionaries and wanted him to stay connected to what was going on in the U.S.
Growing up in a Christian home, I didn't really listen to secular music, so I would go on mp3.com and download as much free Christian rap I could find. I actually got connected with Chad pretty quickly after starting Rapzilla. He had a similar website called hiphopforthesoul.com.
The two merged their efforts and over time became co-owners of Rapzilla.com.
When I came on with Phil, I think we were seeing like 20,000 unique visitors to the website per month. And now we have 300,000 unique visitors per month. And so that's the change that's happened in the last 5 years. That's amazing because we're not just pushing hip hop, we're pushing the gospel via hip hop.
They say their success came in part from learning to fail fast and being innovative.
When you invest a lot of time into something and a great idea, if it fails, it's really hard to pull the plug. And the church has to, I think in my opinion, has to stop playing catch up and it needs to be in the forefront and be innovative in ways to reach people.
The other key to their success, giving away free music.
I think the most popular is the free downloads. Everyone still loves free music, and it's still the best way to, to get your music around.
Wow, Caleb, that is pretty impressive.
Right, and as Chad said in the interview, not only are they helping to spread good music, they're also helping to spread the gospel to people who may never step into a church.
Yeah, and that's very important. That's what we're called to do.
And one of the really cool things about it is that Over 80% of their content comes from unknown or up-and-coming independent artists.
Wow, that's pretty impressive as well. Now, we want to give you a chance to ask the founders some questions in our next segment.
Do you have a passion to reach people using Christian web-based content?
Or perhaps you're an up-and-coming artist simply looking for some advice.
Or maybe you just want to know what kind of razor Chad uses.
I think we can skip that question. Indeed. Well, for now, that is going to do it. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Caleb Kinchlow, and this is your Digital Download.
All right, thank you guys. Well, this week marks the 50th anniversary of a classic family movie, alive again. The Sound of Music, one of the most successful movies ever, opened the annual TCM Classic Film Festival last night. Stars Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer came out to celebrate. Plummer says now more than ever, the world needs the sound of music.
It's an innocent time, from an innocent time, and with the horrific world situation right now, it's great for parents to take their children to see something as sort of innocent and pure as this. And that's why each year there's another whole phalanx of children coming to see it.
The film won the Oscar for Best Picture in 1965, and rightly so. Coming up, at schools and universities across the country, God has been expelled, and Christian colleges are paying a price for following their faith. Find out who's after them next. Christian colleges are facing enormous challenges in a changing culture, including the rapid growth of the gay rights movement. Heather Sells brings us this look at how those colleges are responding while standing for their biblical principles.
More than 450,000 students attend colleges focused on Christ-centered learning. These schools often require students and faculty to sign a faith statement committing to certain beliefs and behaviors. In the past, society approved and even praised such acts. Today, that's been replaced by charges of discrimination and threats about accreditation. If any Christian college is in the eye of the storm right now, it's Gordon College, just north of Boston. Its views on sexuality have led some local cities here to sever ties with the school, and its accrediting body is now asking some very tough questions. Gordon President Michael Lindsay is standing firm against the challenges.
Christian colleges are at the tip of the spear of engaging on cultural issues, and Gordon, being based here in New England, is at the vanguard of that.
The regional accrediting body wants a report on Gordon's historic statement of life and conduct, which forbids homosexual activity. Lindsay says Gordon is committed to the statement.
We do believe that as a voluntary moral community, we should be able to set up the conditions, the boundaries of what makes you part of this community. I mean, that's actually a fundamental right that we have literally in the Bill of Rights, of the freedom of association.
At the same time, Lindsay says the school wants appropriate care for students grappling with same-sex attraction.
We have had gay students, we do have gay students here at Gordon now, and we want to pay attention to their concerns. We want to be as pastorally sensitive as we can.
This same situation is spreading across the country's more than 120 Christian colleges. At many schools, alumni and other stakeholders are questioning their college's views on sexuality. And the criticism from outsiders goes even deeper. A recent commentary in the widely regarded Chronicle of Higher Education questioned accreditation for any Christian college, saying that skeptical and unfettered inquiry cannot flourish inside institutions that erect religious tests for truth. Regent University's Gerson Moreno-Riano acknowledges it's a tough climate right now.
I think we are at a cultural location where faith has become pigeonholed as stupidity, irrationality, and it has no place in the modern educated person. And that's a very difficult position to be in.
The new president of the Council for Christian Colleges and Universities took on the attacks in a recent address to her college presidents. She disputes any notion that critical thinking is not possible on their campuses.
We actually would believe in the Christian college movement that we give the unfettered academic freedom. So we can talk about things of faith. We can talk about how faith has influenced literature.
Going forward, Christian colleges not only face growing financial pressure, they must also take on a culture that questions their value. Lindsay says they must prepare for more tension around sexual ethics.
I think that a version of this will come to every Christian institution in the next 5 to 10 years.
Dr. Russell Moore at the Southern Baptist Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission believes the First Amendment will ultimately protect Christian colleges. He wants the culture to recognize a diversity of viewpoints and says different faiths should stand together.
We don't expect every college to teach evangelical Christianity or Mormon doctrine or Marian devotion. We don't want that. But we want the kind of pluralism where those colleges and those institutions are allowed to exist and to flourish, and then we have a debate.
Moreno Riano would like an entire redefinition of higher education.
I suggest we recast the entire discussion around the importance of critical thinking, around the importance of truth and wisdom, and also recast this question about what faith is. That it's not a leap in the dark. If anything, actually faith opens the door for more seeking.
On Gordon's campus, changes include new staff training on sexuality, stronger anti-bullying policies, and expanded support for students around the issue. Its accrediting body told CBN News recently that Gordon's accreditation is not on the line, that it has merely asked for a routine follow-up report.
The accreditors are primarily concerned to make sure that we are caring for our students, that we're providing an environment where our students can really thrive and learn. There is no doubt that's taking place every single day at Gordon College.
In our changing culture, however, the burden is still on Gordon and other Christian schools to defend just why and how they exist. Reporting in Wenham, Massachusetts, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Finally today, Operation Blessing is helping families caught in the crossfire in eastern Ukraine. This woman fled Donetsk with her 3 granddaughters after their mother was found shot to death. They now live in an abandoned building in Odessa, along with 6 other displaced families. Operation Blessing teams have provided food, baby formula, diapers, and more to displaced families and to those currently living in bunkers and shelters unable to flee the fighting. Wow, Operation Blessing, they are everywhere. It's great to see they're helping folks out over there. That's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here on Facebook or at Twitter. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great weekend.